I want to talk about copywriting and specifically some copywriting tips that is going to make your social media content more engaging and actually increase the engagement you receive on that content. So without any further ado, let's just dive straight into tip number one. Tip number one being keeping your language simple. This is something I talk about a lot, but I need to hammer this point home as much as I possibly can. There's a reason for me doing this. Please do not overcomplicate your language in an attempt to make yourself sound clever. You may sound clever, but you're actually doing yourself a disservice. In my opinion, the best content creators, the highest quality content creators, the most intelligent content creators are able to take an incredibly complicated subject and actually make it seem as simple as possible. They don't need to use all of this industry jargon and really complicated words to make themselves sound clever and prove just how complicated the topic they are talking about may be. They want to make that topic as simple to understand for everybody as possible. And that means simplifying the language that they are using within that content. And there's a reason for this. You want your content to apply to as many people as possible. These copywriting tips are to help you make your content more engaging and increase the amount of engagement you receive on that content. An easy way to increase the amount of engagement you receive on that content is to make it applicable to more people, increase that reach. So if you're somebody who is making your content as simple as possible so that anyone reading it can understand no matter their experience level, if they are a beginner in the subject you're teaching, they'll be able to understand it. If they're an intermediate, they'll be able to understand it. Even if they're an expert, they will also be able to understand it. So no matter what experience level someone may be, they will be able to understand your piece of content. But if you were to be that creator that used the industry jargon and complicated words to make this topic seem more complicated than it is to make yourself sound clever, you're ruling out everybody who doesn't understand those words that you're using. So you're probably ruling out both the beginners and the intermediates, only leaving the experts being the ones able to consume and understand the content you produce. So you're instantly writing off a huge chunk of your potential audience there and limiting the reach that that piece of content is going to receive, consequently reducing the amount of engagement that you're going to get. So by simply simplifying the language you use within your content, you can increase your reach dramatically, which is going to help you increase your content engagement. That is tip number one. Moving on to tip number two, keep your sentences short. There's a reason I do this on my Instagram content. If you follow me and consume my carousels, you will know that I like to keep my sentences very short. Every single slide on my carousel is just one line of text. There's a reason for this. It doesn't take away from the value the post is providing. I just want to keep my listeners, my audience engaged as much as I possibly can. You need to remember that as a content creator on whatever social media platform you may be posting on, there is so much competition when it comes to content. If somebody doesn't like it, they are scrolling on to the next person because they have an endless feed of content to consume. So if you can't fully engage that audience member, if you can't get them engrossed within what you're talking about, then they're going to scroll on to that next piece of content. So instantly, let's say for example, when I'm on Instagram and I see a carousel and I swipe onto that first slide and it looks like there is half a book written on that first slide of the carousel, I am instantly taken aback and just don't want to consume that piece of content. It's too much. I'm on social media. I don't want to read a book. If I wanted to read a book, I would go and read one. I want to consume quick, engaging, snappy pieces of content and keep my engagement high on the platform. And that's why I use only one line of text on each slide. I want people to come across my content and go, this is easy to read. I don't mind reading that. I'm going to keep reading it. So keeping your sentences short and simple allows you to do that. You do not want to have too much text. If you're writing too much text and you know you're writing too much text, proofread it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be using so much filler content that simply isn't needed within what you are writing. You can get the same point across in just one sentence, even though you may have been using 5 or 6 before. Try to cut out all of this fluff that you are currently including within your copywriting, because it's not needed. You don't need that to reinforce your point. Just get what needs to be said down on that page and put it out there. Keep your sentences short. It's going to make your content far more engaging. People are going to look at it and go, I don't mind reading this. I want to read this. It's only short and I'm going to consume a lot of value within it. Keeps them engaged. And if you can keep people engaged, you're going to increase the amount of engagement you receive on that content because people enjoy it and they actually consume all of it. So what's not to love about that? So, tip number 2, try and keep your sentences sweet, short, straight to the point. Tip number 3, audience association. And what I mean by this is that you want to almost be talking to your audience when you are writing your copy. So for example, if somebody's reading it, it almost needs to be like you're telling them something. Almost like you're giving them instructions. You, as the audience member, I want you to do this. When you do this, this should happen. When you use these words, somebody is going to be reading that and going, okay, this creator is actually talking to me. They're telling me what I need to do. It's not this broad, overarching copywriting strategy that's applying to everyone. They're talking to me as an individual. It's very psychological, but because you're doing it, it's keeping these viewers, these audience members engaged because they feel as if you're talking to them specifically. And when you're talking to them specifically, they have far more appreciation for what you're telling them. It's not just like you've picked this person amongst a group of thousands and there's 1,000 people reading this piece of content, which there might be because you might have an audience of that size, but you want that audience association. You want that audience member to think that you were talking to them specifically so that they are completely engaged with the piece of content that they are consuming. When they do that, because they are more engaged, they're far more likely to read through the whole thing. They're far more likely to engage with it. But more importantly, they're far more likely to actually take action upon what you have taught them because you have spoken to them and them only, them specifically. And they like that. So they're going to read it and go, right, this person's given me a step-by-step process of what I need to do. They've told me specifically. So now I'm going to do it. If they thought it was a post that was talking to hundreds and thousands of people from this broader sense, then it's not as likely that they're going to go and do it because you spoke to them specifically. They're far more likely to. So this is a very simple point and it's more on the psychological side, but please make sure you are specifically talking to your audience, having that audience association with your content. Now, the final point I want to talk about, this one is very simple. It's very straight to the point. One you might expect, but it's to have a call to action within your copywriting. You have just, if you have implemented all the points that I've mentioned in the past, produced a fantastic piece of content for your audience. You've kept them engaged. They've read through all of it. They've enjoyed it. They've learned something. They feel appreciative of you as the creator because you've just provided them with this knowledge. If it's a knowledge-based post, if it's entertaining, they're now entertained. So now you've got that attention. You need to use it. Call to action. Having a call to action. Telling people what they need to do next after they have consumed your piece of content. This is one of the biggest things when it comes to copywriting. Having a call to action within that copywriting can instantly increase the likelihood of what you want them to do next. You've got their attention. You don't want to lose that now. You don't want them to just simply go on to the next piece of social media content in their feed. You want them to take action. They owe you something. You've provided them with all this information now. You have every right to ask for something in return. If you want somebody to engage with your content, tell them. Call to action. Please, if you enjoyed this, like this post. For more social media content just like this, head over to my page and follow me. What did you think of this post? comment below. You are increasing your engagement because you are simply asking people to do it. You have a call to action that's telling them what they need to do next. And because, like I said, they have enjoyed that piece of content that you've produced, it's far more likely that they're going to do it because they feel as if they have to, because you've just provided them with everything they need. So, final copywriting tip, make sure that most of, if not all of the content you produce, whether it be a blog post, a carousel, a video, you name it, it doesn't have to be a buy my product now. It doesn't have to be something that they're going to have to pay to do. Simply like this post, give me a follow, comment below, something as simple as that. It doesn't have to cost anything, it can be free, simple, easy to do. Make sure they do it. Tell them to do it. Have that call to action. And they do wrap up some of the copywriting tips that I wanted to talk about to make your content more engaging, but also increase the engagement that your content receives on social media.